The many challenges of modern-day e-commerce is the topic of my conversation today with Art Eldred, Client Executive Systems Engineering with Vargo. Hello, Art. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to be here.
We've got a lot of ground to cover in a very short time, all related to challenges of e-commerce, starting with the labor issue. How are companies facing the challenges of e-commerce from a labor perspective?
Well, it's interesting. We've done couple of studies and gone back and done some research with the census bureaus and kind of the statistics on labor. One of the things that we've seen in the last 6 years is a kind of a cross of unemployment going down and warehouse labor going up. The economy's doing great, which is all good for us all, but unless you're looking for temporary workers in a warehouse, so that presents a heck of a challenge where people are competing more and more for the same warehouse labor. When you couple that with the transition from retail stores to the fulfillment centers, we're just trading labor. We're trading labor that was working in the back room, working in the stores, they're now working in the fulfillment centers, and that same type of manual labor that was heavy in the stores now transitioned into the fulfillment center. That requires an awful lot of effort to get products of e-commerce type orders out. The days of filling a trailer with pallets and cartons still exists, but that's diminishing with the retail footprint diminishing, and the effort to get an e-commerce order out the door is on a drastic rise. It continues to rise like the e-commerce marketplace does.
So much for the idea that automation is the ultimate solution now to the lack of labor availability. You say labor's going up. These places aren't filled with robots exactly, we still need people.
Not yet, we're getting there. We have some robots that are out there.
So what are the challenges involved on the technology side of implementing artificial intelligence into this whole environment?
So that's one of the biggest things we're seeing is the explosion of automation and technologies, right? The brain has gotten smarter, cloud computing has enabled AI to happen across technologies and be able to share that rapidly and easily so that you can reuse it. So AI has really kind of been birthed out of the cloud, from my opinion. But what we're really seeing is the roboticists and the technologists are doing what they do very, very, very well. The applied side, however, is the part that's lacking. We don't see the knowledge and the expertise of figuring out how to use the automation with inside a fulfillment center and replacing the labor needs that are out there. We're starting simple, pick and place type units, and the robots are starting to come into that area. But as we start growing more and more technology, more and more need to supplement the labor force that isn't there, that complexity of the applied side to the technologist really is the kind of the thing that's is lacking in the industry right now.
And we really are just at the beginning of artificial intelligence, aren't we? It has a long way to go before it realizes its total promise.
Right. Now, artificial intelligence is fun by itself, right? So we're able to apply it to so many things. We can apply it to technology, we can apply it to data, we can apply it to flowing a building and how it works, and taking that mind or the effort out of the human brain and putting it into an automated intelligent system, which is really gaining great benefits for all of us because the artificial intelligence can do it rapidly and over again, and they're not the ones that's taking a break at 30 minutes. We're going through time motions of 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and being Johnny on the spot with the decision making that was used to be human.
Okay, so speaking of the future, let's look 5, 10, even 15 years into the future. With the continuing growth of e-commerce, how do you see the landscape looking then?
Well, it's exciting. It's extremely exciting for everyone that's in the fulfillment business, and if you've got children, get them in the fulfillment and supply chain side, because this area is just going to continue to grow. It does go back to the applied side again. So robots, in my opinion, are probably 5 to 10 years away from being able to do some huge value. The moment we can take a robot, put it into a fulfillment center, and he can automate the picking process, he or she robot, automate the picking process, we've got a real big win. At that point, we're looking at taking out massive amounts of labor inside the fulfillment centers, because that's really where it is. It's the human element that has really been difficult to take on. The pick and place type units where I identify an object, I move it from position A to position B, hasn't been very difficult. We'll continue to grow that. Whether I'm putting items on unit sorters or I'm putting items into cubbies that are being gathered for in order to be packaged up later, those elements are going to continue to explode over the next 5 years, and we've seen some great innovations. And I know Vargo's been applying a lot of this in the last couple of years and had some great success with it. However, it's not everything. And the one thing we do know is that There will always be an automation element and there will always be a human element. I think it's going to be very difficult to pick up a couch. However, it's going to be much easier to pick an item out of a box. So if we look at 5, 10, 15 years, I think the robotic field and the AI is going to be really applied to the human elements of things that get more and more complex tasks.
But looking at this technology in the future, is there not a continuing challenge in ensuring that it's both flexible and scalable? That it's not, you don't have a number of different units all doing individual things. You have to, automation that can do a number of different things and deal with the growth.
Well, so there's a really interesting point by itself, right? How much automation do I put into facilities? When you're thinking about e-commerce that has anywhere from a 4 to up to 14, 18 peak to mean average, meaning if I was doing 10,000 orders today and I'm up to 140,000 orders during peak season, that's an extremely difficult challenge for anybody to attack. But putting capital into that is even worse because you're only going to be utilizing it for 2 weeks. So that's why I come back to, the mix and blend of automation and intelligence with the human element will never go away. I still see that we're going to have to use a human element to kind of supplement some of that. And let's face it, robots are awesome. They're going to be a great tool and weapon for combating competition in the future. However, they're still going to come at a cost and they're still going to be expensive. The other thing that comes with is a whole nother level of employee that you're using to actually maintain, operate them, use them, get the feedback into it. So the average warehouse worker that we're using today probably will change in intelligence themselves because they're working with a highly intelligent device.
Art, I want to thank you so much for this wide-scale look at the broad landscape of e-commerce on so many fronts. Thanks very much for bringing us up to date on what's going on out there.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I've been speaking with Art Eldred of Vargo. Thank you very much for watching.